All right, diving in. Today we're tackling YouTube thumbnails.
The things that make or break a video.
Yeah,
right?
that first impression. Like, what actually makes someone click?
We've got some cool research to help us figure that out.
I know you've got some papers lined up, so what's first?
Well, we've got this one that uses, it's called Deep Visual-Semantic Embedding.
Okay. Deep and visual, I get. But what's this semantic embedding?
So basically, it's about teaching a computer model
Okay.
to understand the link between, like, what a thumbnail looks like
Okay.
and all the words attached to the video. Title, description, you name it.
So, like, is it about cats or dogs or whatever?
Exactly. And this is huge E for YouTubers because, get this,
Yeah.
YouTube itself is kind of judging your thumbnail this way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, deciding if it visually matches what people are searching for.
Makes sense. If I'm looking for DIY, I don't want to see a cat video.
Exactly. So it's more than a pretty picture.
It's got to be relevant to the video.
Yeah. Otherwise, your video is basically lost in the sea of content.
Ooh, that's a good point. Okay, so we've got relevance, but what else?
Well, there's this team at Yahoo who made this automatic thumbnail selector.
They automated it.
Yep, it's called Hecate, and they focused on thumbnails that were both relevant and visually appealing.
Interesting. So they found a way to measure that visual appeal.
Yeah, they did. Used all sorts of data. But hold on, I think we skipped a step back there.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Why are thumbnails so important in the first place?
I mean, it seems obvious, but go on.
Think about it. When you're on YouTube, you're scrolling through tons of videos.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And what's the first thing you see? It's the thumbnail. That's your first impression.
It's like a tiny movie poster.
Exactly. And those posters can make or break a film, right?
Definitely. So you're saying a good thumbnail actually makes people click and watch?
Absolutely. Research shows they have a huge impact on what people choose. That click-through rate directly affects how well your video does overall.
I've definitely clicked based on a thumbnail alone, but I've also been tricked by a thumbnail, and the video's totally different.
Ah, yeah, and that goes back to relevance. Like, you're misleading people and it hurts your channel in the long run.
Totally agree. So we've got eye-catching A&D relevant, but what about the actual design?
Right, so this Yahoo research found something interesting.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Video editors tend to favor still frames for thumbnails.
Really? Why would they pick a still over something with, like, action?
Stills tend to be higher quality. Like, when you pause a video, the image is much sharper.
Oh, that makes sense.
So if you're picking your own thumbnail manually, look for that crisp moment.
Okay, good tip. Anything else about those professionally chosen thumbnails?
Yeah, they tend to be colorful, but not just one dominant color.
Okay.
And they also have complex compositions and textures, like they're packed with visual information.
Makes sense. So, like good photography, you want something that draws you in?
Kinda, but there's a twist. That classic rule of thirds from photography, it doesn't seem to apply much to thumbnails.
Oh, wow. Hold on. What's the rule of thirds?
So it's this composition guideline, says you should put your subject off-center for a more balanced image. Been used for ages in photography.
Okay, so why not for thumbnails?
Seems viewers actually prioritize clarity and relevance over artistic composition.
Interesting. So show the content clearly, not just a fancy shot.
Exactly. Now, let's loop back to that data part.
Yeah, you mentioned both the paper and the Yahoo team talked about data.
And that's where platforms like YouTube have this huge advantage.
They've got all that data on what gets clicked.
Right. They're basically constantly seeing what works, what doesn't.
So we can learn from what YouTube's learning.
Yeah. Pay attention to your own video analytics, which thumbnails perform best.
Like getting feedback from your audience on what looks good.
Precisely. But what about creators who are just starting out, no data yet?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, even without a ton of data, you can still be smart about it.
Okay, how so?
One of the best things, look at other creators in your niche. Like, what are the successful ones doing?
Oh, see what kind of thumbnails they're using.
Exactly. What colors, what kind of imagery? Are they using text on top?
So it's like competitive research, but for thumbnails.
Yeah. Think of it as inspiration, not copying. See what's grabbing attention.
And don't forget the basics we talked about.
Right. Clear image, those vibrant colors, and make sure it connects to your video's actual content.
Makes sense. So even without fancy data, we can still make good thumbnails.
Absolutely. Now, this deep dive has been super helpful.
I'm excited to use these tips. But there's one thing we haven't really talked about.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Text overlays on thumbnails.
Yes, those big, bold letters we see sometimes.
Yeah, some people love them, some hate them.
It's a real debate in the YouTube world.
Some say it gets more clicks, others say it's just distracting.
And actually, neither of the sources we looked at today really talked about text overlays.
So even the experts aren't sure.
It's a bit of a gray area.
So I guess we just got to experiment and see what works.
That's the spirit. But we can use what we do know to make good guesses.
Okay, so like those core principles, relevance, clarity, being visually appealing.
Exactly. And text can actually help with those, if done well.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Imagine a thumbnail that already has a great image.
Yeah.
And then you add a few words highlighting the key takeaway or what the video's about.
Right.
That text can make it more relevant to someone's search.
So it's like a little extra boost to catch the right viewer's eye.
Exactly. But here's where a lot of thumbnails go wrong.
No, what is it?
If the text is huge, clashes with the colors, or is just everywhere, it backfires.
Makes it look messy instead of helpful.
Yeah, so it's all about that balance. Text enhances the image, not overpower it.
I'm getting so many ideas now. But this brings up another question.
What's that?
What about the psychology of text? Do certain words or phrases make people click more?
Ooh, now we're getting deep. That's a whole other area to explore.
A whole new world of thumbnail design.
And that's what's so cool about this. Always more to discover and try out.
You learn by doing, see what works for your audience.
Exactly.
This has been so eye-opening. I see thumbnails totally differently now.
Glad to hear it.
But before we wrap up, I'm curious about the emotional side of thumbnails.
You're right. We've been focused on the technical stuff.
Yeah. Like, does emotion play a part in grabbing attention?
It's huge. Think about it. A thumbnail that makes you feel excited or curious.
You're more likely to stop scrolling than if it's just blah.
Exactly. Like travel vloggers use stunning landscapes, vibrant colors to tap into that wanderlust.
Oh, or true crime channels use dark shadows, close-ups to make it feel suspenseful.
You got it. They're using visuals to connect with you emotionally before you even click.
Wow, it's like a whole art form.
It is. And when done right, super effective. The
Yeah.
goal is to stand out and make people feel something.
This has been awesome. We've learned so much from design to relevance to emotion.
It's been great diving into this with you.
I'm totally revamping my thumbnails now.
Awesome. And for all of you listening out there, we want to hear from you.
So what are your favorite YouTube thumbnails? Have you ever been tricked by, like, a bad one?
Tell us in the comments.
Yeah, and keep experimenting with your own designs.
You never know. You might find something that really works.
So true. Until next time, keep learning, keep creating, and keep diving deep.
See ya.